start. My name is Xiuli, and I am a clinical psychologist associate at Eunoia. Eunoia. Yeah, so um, it's actually a very interesting name for a center. But what mainly we do is we provide mental health services to people who need some kind of professional support. So a little bit about myself. Previously, I was working as a head administrator in a private counseling center for about 7 years. And that is true working with other mental health professionals that I realized I had an interest in doing clinical psychology. And that's how I went on to get my master's. And I'm mainly trained in cognitive behavioral therapy. But in recent years, I've been interested in exploring other forms of approaches such as existential and mindfulness based therapy. Prior to joining Eunoia, I was actually attached to an NGO. Shout out to my friends at Souls Health. And basically, I was in charge of a project whereby we worked with underprivileged communities and survivors of domestic violence in creating resilience programs and emotional management programs. And we also ran training for our fellow colleagues in the mental health field to develop their skills in helping those who are survivors from trauma experiences. So, enough about me. Now, I would like to introduce my co host, Mr. David Wong. Hi,
Hi,
David.
hi,
Okay.
Xiuli.
So David is actually my course mate from the master's program. And same as me, he is also an associate clinical psychologist in Eunoia. So just a little bit of background for David. He is also trained mainly in cognitive behavior therapy, but he also is interested in learning more about Adlerian approaches, as well as acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT or ACT. He has 10 years of working experience in the education field, and what he is interested in pursuing further in terms of training and interest is actually finding out more how to do healthy expression of emotions and building self-esteem. So he also is an expert in drama therapy and enjoys creative mediums such as Lego, clay, and sand therapy as part of his techniques used in therapy sessions. He also has done extensive work in an NGO, and the projects that were sponsored by CIMB, Clarence, and Yayasan Hasana, mainly working on developing family and youth support programs with the aim to build relationships and also nurture resilience among the young people. So I think we're going to have a very exciting session soon. So maybe we can start things off with David giving us an introduction to our program today.
Sure, thank you, Xiuli, and welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. So the reason that we came up with this topic is that because of COVID-19 and also MCO itself, I personally initially thought that working from home is actually a honeymoon, but I never realized that it can be a nightmare for many of us though. Literally working 24/7, especially for some of us. So with the situation all around the world right now, it seems as if we are surrounded and trapped by this storm. Thus, the title of our webinar today, Calm in the Storm. So it seems that we are surrounded and trapped by all these stormy situations. So the situations of COVID, movement control order, MCO is creating a tremendous amount of stress to everyone and taking a toll on a lot of people's mental health. So even our mental health experts in Malaysia has highlighted that there needs to be a huge attention paid towards this area right now because people are not only worrying about getting infected, by the virus, but people are worrying about a lot more other things. For example, the economy, the family relationship. So sadly, also, there's one case in Malaysia, whereby a person who was suspected to have COVID-19 ended his life in Sedang Hospital while he was going through the investigation, while he was undergoing checking whether he has COVID-19 or not. Unfortunately, he committed suicide throughout the process, and also at the same time having to stay at home facing our family may initially sound very lovely, like, oh wow, yay, I get to spend more time with family, I get to enjoy family time with all of them. But it seems like it's creating another stressor and distress for people, and people in China especially. There's this news saying that they are actually queuing to get divorced. So it affects a lot of romantic relationship and also couple relationship, family relationship. The distress is increasing in family. So this highlights against all these news, highlight to us that mental health issues require a huge amount of attention. Um, and we have been talking about all these negative things, all these stormy things. It may seem like we are stuck in this stormy weather, and our lives encounter a lot of changes which has been resulted from COVID-19 and MCO itself. All these changes seems to have resulted in the stormy weather that we are experiencing right now. So the stormy changes in our lives seems to be unpredictable as well. But Xiuli here is going to share with us her interesting perspective on changes. So maybe Xiuli, you could take a go.
Okay, thanks, David. So actually, while we were preparing for this webinar, I had a few thoughts regarding what change could mean, and I came up with three very interesting thoughts of mine. I'm not sure if people will agree, but we can discuss that later. So, first of all, change is something that is constant, meaning that it will keep going and continuing whether we enjoy it or we don't. It just happens. So, there's a very famous saying I think that people talk about, which is change is constant. It's the only thing that actually is predictable. That means you can definitely be sure that change will happen. So, that's point one. Point number two, I would say that for a lot of us, change is scary. Why? Because we will be faced with unfamiliar situations where we have no idea how we are going to respond. We don't know what is happening. And because of this uncertainty, it means that, our lives are going to probably be turned upside down. So these first 2 points may sound a little bit distressing at first. So I thought of what is the third point about change that could instill some hope in all of us. And I found that, well, change is manageable. As long as we hold ourselves humble and we are open to new experiences, we can learn to do things differently and learn how to find new ways to do things to be more effective. So in that sense, it makes change less scary now, because what we can do is we have some control over it, and that is the next point, which I will also want to share in our little webinar today. So please bear with me. There's a bit of a lag time between my slides and the next topic. But I would like to introduce a concept called locus of control. Yeah. And basically, what this is referring to is people's belief about whether their actions have an influence on whatever they do or things that happen in their environment. So there are two views about locus of control. One is internal locus of control, which is things within my control, as you can see on the slide. And there is also the external locus of control, which is things that are beyond what I can do. So having internal locus of control basically means that we believe that whatever outcome that we see is directly a result of my own efforts. I put in the time and all that to get this kind of outcome. For example, I am good at swimming. And the reason because I'm good at swimming is because I go for classes. So someone teaches me how to swim, and I go for weekly practices. So that helps me improve my skills for swimming. On the other hand, when I have an external locus of control, I think that, I'm naturally a swimmer because both my parents are swimmers. So there's nothing I can do, even if I want to improve my swimming skills, because I'm just born that way. So if I'm born to be a moderate swimmer, I won't be any better because that's how I am. I can't change anything. And at this point, I think I would like to highlight that there is no right or wrong between having an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. It's just how we want to explain the things that we are going through. It's just a way to make sense of the world. However, if you notice, when there is this difference in perspective, you will also notice that our mental health will be affected differently. So here I would like to give another example. Just the other day, I was trying to cook spaghetti for my family. And I followed the instructions. I did whatever I was told to do. And finally, when I served my meal, I got two comments. The first is, "Your spaghetti is too hard, I cannot chew." The second is, "Your spaghetti sauce is not salty enough, I cannot taste anything." So then, now I have an option. Either I'm going to feel super offended, okay, that my spaghetti tastes horrible, or I can choose to remain calm and take in the feedback and see how I can improve myself. So chances are, if I was keeping calm and just listening for the feedback, it means that I probably have already recognized and accepted that the things that I can control is my own reactions to the feedback. Not losing my cool, being calm and patient, and trying to learn what is it about the food that is not so good, and things that are outside of my, whatever I cannot change is people's preferences in terms of taste. So I wonder at this point whether our audience would like to share, some examples of their things that they are able to exert some kind of control versus those that they can't. Or maybe David, you can share.
Yeah, while waiting for the response, I'm also thinking that when we are working from home, maybe there will be a lot of things that are not within our control. For example, maybe a demanding bosses keeps on wanting us to deliver things within a short time frame. And also we might be worried about losing job after MCO, or maybe getting a slash in salary. So all these worries, all these stresses are something that are outside our control, like people's comments on Xiuli's dishes. It's outside our control, but what we could do at this time, trying to gain much power over our lives, is to redirect, like what Xiuli has mentioned, redirecting the focus to the things that we can do. We cannot fire our boss, or we can't get a genie to uplift the economy as well. So I guess we can focus on doing what we can and setting a healthy work boundary for ourselves so that we do not risk taking a toll on our health. We could also work on career plan and get ourselves equipped with different soft skills so to increase our market value after MCO. So focusing on things we can do are something that maybe is a tips that we could bring back today as well. So we would like to hear from our audience today. Is there any other stresses that you are facing? Maybe some some questions that you have. Seems like the echo and the feedback is still strong according to our audience. Yeah, while Xiuli is trying to do what she can within her control, we need to try to cope with all these changes that seems to be beyond our control. We tried putting on earphone, headphones, and all, or trying to do things that are maybe much within our capability to try to minimize that for you all.
Okay, I'm trying very hard to reduce the echo, David, but I'm so sorry. This is something that is not in my control. Okay, I think David, there's a question for you.
Is there? Oh, okay. Let me see. How leaders and employers can maximize trust and minimize stress, considering many employers are worried about business situation now. So how employers could actually minimize stress for employees, I would say, because there are lots of uncertainties right now, MCO and also COVID-19 itself, there are lots of uncertainties in our life. So as an employer, what you could do is to minimize uncertainty for employees. As a staff, as a colleague, you could minimize uncertainties for your employees as well. So for your colleagues as well. So something that you could do is to explain more to your employees as an employer. What are the plans that you could maybe promise after MCO? What are the plans that you could help to reduce the uncertainty by March, and hopefully that itself reassure your employees that, hey, despite the situation right now, we are here together to go through this situation together. So you could, as an employer, if you could promise that, hey, I would promise not to lay off the employees over here. I could choose. These are our strategic plan to deal with the situations itself. So you could try to give more information to the employees so that it reduces the anxiety inside. Hopefully that answered the questions.
All right.
And sorry everyone, thank you for bearing with us. How do we manage and cope with our emotions? So there's one participant asking as well, how do we manage and cope with our emotions? Later, we are also going to introduce you to some steps that you could use to help to manage your own emotions, especially in this time of stress, in this time of stressful situations. Something that you could do is being mindful of your own emotions, knowing that, hey, I have this trigger in me. Oh, I realize that I'm feeling really stressful recently. My heart is pumping much more. I'm having sweaty palms, and also all these are signs of anxiety. So I'm realizing all this in me. While I'm realizing all this in me, I could start to practice relaxations exercise, practice deep breathing, practice all these skills to help to manage my emotions. Of course, there are some simple ways that you could do to help manage your emotions, and directing our focus on something that we enjoy doing. For example, I enjoy watching Netflix myself. So watching TV shows help me to reduce stresses. So even for some of us, like for me as well, going to religious events and also going for service worship, that also helped me to reduce stresses on my own. So find things that you enjoy doing. Those are the things that could help you to reduce your stresses.
David, it seems like we have a few more questions here. Maybe do we have time to take one more before we move on with our presentation? Hello, can you hear me? Oops. Okay. Sorry, David. Yeah, I was trying to, I
No worries.
unmuted myself so that there was not so much echo. No, I was just wondering if we have a few more questions lined up here. However, do we have time to take one more before we move on with our topic?
Okay, let me look through the question
Yeah.
over there.
How about let's look at this one. Tension between family members who are staying under one roof. Because I think you mentioned,
Okay.
yeah, let's do this one first.
Okay, let's try that. So,
Okay.
I know that yes, with me having my family members staying under one roof with me, like what we have mentioned previously, initially we might thought that is, oh wow, good time for family building relationship together. But because we have to face family members right now 24/7, which we don't really face them before in such similar situations. We don't usually see our family members when we go out to work and all. So right now when we are basically staying at home 24/7, we are facing our family throughout. That definitely creates a lot of stresses in us, especially if our family relationship initially before MCO is not that pleasant. So something that we could do is, of course, we could try engage with our family members on activities that are more neutral. So a lot of times conflicts occur because we have different viewpoints. Um, Maybe our mother-in-law thinks that, oh, we shall cook like this for the child, but maybe we think that, oh no, that shouldn't be the way that you shall be cooking for our child. So when there are conflict in terms of viewpoints, that's when the tension increases. So something that I'm thinking off from my head right now is that maybe we could do activities that are more neutral. For example, we can have a costume night with our family members. So everyone just dress up in costumes and then just have fun together. And also maybe at the same time we could reflect on our own emotions. We could reflect on ourselves. Maybe a lot of times we need to manage our own emotions when there are behaviors that are maybe a little triggering from our family members. We can't control the triggering behaviors from our family members, but what we can do is to not lash out back at them, not to increase the tension even further. So by noticing our anger inside, by noticing our irritation inside, we could step aside and calm down our emotions before we communicate with our family members again. That might be something that could help to reduce the tension by a bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, David. With the neutral activities, I think it's a great first step in trying to bridge a gap between two parties. I guess in my point of view, I would think also that it's important that we are honest about our relationships and I mean our emotions as well. So one of the things is also perhaps, when we do feel that we are distressed, it's also important to open up to our family and very specifically own our emotions and talk about specific behaviors that maybe we're not comfortable with. And then through that, find a common ground where we can both agree on so that, there's some kind of mutual respect and understanding going on. So, yeah, that's my take on this. I'm just wondering, yeah, maybe we should move on to our next part of the topic. And when we have more time, we can answer the rest of the questions in the chat. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to hold on one second. Okay, so I think Yeah. Mm,
So as you can see from the slide itself, all these are actually things within our control and things that are less within our control during MCO and COVID-19 itself. So while there might be a widespread of virus, what we could do is we can keep our personal hygiene and we can stay at home. So those are the things that are within our capacity. We might be also worrying that, hey, needing to stay at home, there may be an extension of MCO and we are trapped here. So what we can do is we could try connecting with others and engage in fun activities with the others so that staying at home seems to be more fun and more interesting. Who knows, maybe after MCO you don't even want to leave your house and maybe staying at home sounds more sounds better later. And also maybe like what a lot of audience have highlighted, staying at home maybe resulted in a lot of a lot of triggering behaviors. We may see a lot of annoying triggering behaviors from our family members. But I guess right now is the time that Chinese Kung Fu should come out loud. We shall Tai Chi that away, and we shall ignore the annoying behavior, ignore the triggering behavior, so that we don't increase the tension over there, and also worrying endlessly regarding economy and all. We could focus on financial planning. We could focus on things that we can do instead of worrying about the storm outside. Like we can't shoo the storm away. Like we can't do anything regarding the storm. What we can do is choose to stay calm inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now I am going to introduce all of this to some practical tips to deal with those events that are beyond our control. So we mentioned a lot that hey, there are things that are maybe not within our control. I'm going to introduce you some ways, some practical tips to deal with those things. Dr. Ras actually used a sushi tray metaphor to illustrate our first tip today. So imagine you are entering a Japanese restaurant today. So I believe many of you right now are craving for sushi and all. And you see various types of sushi in front of you. So there's this mouth-watering unagi sushi. That is my personal favorite. So you see that unagi sushi lying there and you feel like, oh, I want to grab that sushi right now. And you also see the beautiful tamago sushi next to it. And while you feel so eager that you want to grab that, and all of a sudden you see there's one sushi that repulses you. Ew, you find it totally not appetizing at all. So what can you do? You cannot throw that non-appetizing sushi dish away and make a mess. What you can do is simple. You can merely step backward and observe this sushi as they pass by in front of you one by one on the sushi train. The same applies to our thoughts. There may be some pleasant thoughts like the unagi sushi. There may be some neutral thoughts like some other sushis, and there may be some unpleasant thoughts like the non-appetizing sushis in our mind. So there may be pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral thoughts in our mind. What we can do is not to force the unpleasant thoughts out of our mind. What we can do is merely acknowledge that, hey, I know that I have all these unpleasant thoughts of worrying about COVID-19, but merely acknowledging it and observing it from a distance is something that we can try today. We do not we do not need to live onto the pleasant thoughts, neither do we need to avoid the unpleasant one. We can just be mindful, acknowledge that hey, I have these thoughts in my mind and it's okay to have these thoughts in my mind, and merely observe them. And I believe Xiuli has other tips to share regarding the changes that are happening around us.
Thanks, David. So yeah, I mean, it's important that we can acknowledge that we have different types of thoughts in our minds, and all we need to do is just observe them and not necessarily have to put any sort of judgment or labeling onto them. Now, the second tip that I wanted to share with you is actually you will see in a while on my screen is parking your emotions. Now, this is basically encouraging people to set aside a worry time in each day
so that they can focus on whatever unpleasant emotions they are feeling. So why worry time works is because when you set aside or you agree with yourself to set aside some time to worry about your emotions, then you can actually continue with your daily task first. And then knowing in mind that, okay, later on, I'm going to have worry time, and this is where I'm going to address those unpleasant emotions. So during that time when you have your worry hour or your worry minutes, what you need to do is actually to just focus on everything that makes you worry. It sounds very scary, but there's also a time limit to it. So we encourage people to maybe set aside 30 minutes of quiet time and use that time to sit with that worry and just let it all out. So if you need to, you can, if there's no space in your house, maybe you can try going out to a balcony or, going into your washroom for just about half an hour just to do this exercise. And the focus is putting all that energy to worry. And then when your alarm clock rings at half an hour, time's up, and tell yourself that, okay, I've actually worried enough today. And if I need to do this again to express more unpleasant emotions, we can actually do it again tomorrow. So you kind of set a contract. Okay, if I'm still worried tomorrow, I'm going to set aside worry time again. And I'm going to practice this again until I can manage my emotions a bit better. So I like to think of worry time as, the idea where we go to the bank and there are reserve parking for us to do our banking, right? So usually the bank will give you maybe like 10, 15 minutes to park your car, and then you go down to the bank, do what you need to do, and then you just drive off. So it's the same concept with worry time. So you set aside a parking lot for a limited period of time. You go and do what you need to do, which is to sit with your emotions, to express your emotions that are unpleasant. And then at the last part, you drive off. And then you come back to it tomorrow if, let's say, you need to release more emotions. So that's what I like about worry time. The third thing I would like to share today is actually about changing the way we think about things, or even the language that we use when we're trying to describe things in life. So I know earlier on we talked about acknowledging some thoughts and just observing them. But there are times where our thoughts are very loud and it's very hard to ignore. So rather than ignoring them completely, if you need to give a response to those thoughts, what we can do is to change it into from something that's not helpful into a helpful thought. So I think the most common example that we are faced with today is probably that whole notion that I am stuck at home, I am trapped. And when we say things like that, we realize that suddenly, oh my God, my freedom is taken away. I can't go anywhere. And there is a lot of fear, there's a lot of frustration that bottles up, and we get so upset. However, how can we change the language so that we can manage our emotions better? Perhaps we can think of it as, I am at home, means that I have an opportunity to learn or do something different. And I think with the recent outbreak, a lot of museums and mental health centers, they've actually started coming out with boredom busters. So, you can go to a virtual aquarium now, you can go visit an art gallery from the comfort of your home. Or if you're into languages, why not learn a new language? And I think I want to echo a bit of what David said earlier. This is also a good downtime for you, a forced downtime for you to perhaps upscale your skills so that when you come back to work finally, you can be on top of things. You won't feel rusty when you have to take on new tasks again because, while you were in lockdown mode, you were still very active in learning how to improve your work skills and things like that. So I think with these three ideas in mind, this is one way that we can manage the storm and sort of ride through it more gracefully. I wonder, David, if you have any thoughts about this.
Yes, so once we are able to reconstruct our thoughts and direct focus to what is within our 10 fingers, we can start coping with the new changes. Yeah, so the stormy seas and the thunderstorms are really scary out there because there's so much uncertainty. So thus, we shall create more certainty and consistency in our lives to help us stay calm in the midst of storm. So first tips that we can do is to try to keep a healthy routine. Best to keep a routine that you have before MCO. If it is healthy, if you have a healthy routine before MCO, try to keep that similar routine. Healthy eating, exercise, and sleep. All these are actually very essential, not only for good physical health, but also for a good mental health as well. In addition to the routines that we can do, we could try to add some colors to our life as well. So we can, like what I've mentioned previously, we can have a costume. Like you can also have a international dinner, like you want to have a Japanese dinner tonight, or maybe a Korean dinner tonight. So any sort of things that you could think of. Like for example, if you're a husband and you want to give surprises to your wife, but oh no, you can't go out and buy flowers. Why not go on to YouTube and learn how to fold an origami flower? Maybe using a banknote that may surprise your wife a lot. So, yeah, so fold a origami rose using banknotes, or maybe some other activities like getting your children to have a makeup night. So, for example, getting your children to gel the father's hair, to put on makeup for you. Although it may sound silly and all, but all these activities could add on colors to our routines and could add on colors to our life. So all these things could be something that help us to deal with something that is within our control despite of the stormy seas outside. I believe Xiuli has some more to add on.
Yeah, so David, I really like the idea of having fun with family members, especially for those of us who have to stay with more people under the roof. So, the whole idea of getting dressed up, getting the kids to do makeup or gelling dad's hair, that is actually a way for that kind of really segues into my next tip, which is to stay connected. Although this sounds very cliche, I guess before MCO, we probably didn't have a lot of time with our family. Yeah, we see them for breakfast, we see them for dinner, but I have a good feeling that a lot of us would be stuck on our gadgets, and just trying to get our prepared for work. So it's probably a very touch and go breakfast that we have. And then by the time you come back for dinner, you've been out the whole day, you've been stimulated by all your work stresses and complaints from clients, this and that. You're not going to have energy or want to relate to people at home. And it's true that a lot of times our family and our loved ones are the ones who will be ignored because we already spent most of our day trying to entertain everybody around us. So when we come home, we just want to hide in our shell and we don't want to be connected. So which is why it's a great time now to find back that connection with family. Find back that connection with your partner, with people you care about. And of course, if they are not with you physically, there are so many ways to connect with them virtually. Whether it's Skyping them, sending them a text message, a voice recording even. If you want to be creative, you could sing a song and then send it on in an email. I'm sure a lot of people will be like very surprised. Oh my God, my husband or my child is singing to me. But it makes you, realize that you are not stuck alone on the island and that we are going to weather this storm together. And again, that's how we are going to feel more grounded and in touch with people we care for. But of course, I understand there will be days where things will get very difficult for us. Even the best of us may sometimes slip into a lot of distress and feel overwhelmed. So my last point that I would like to share in, especially for this topic, would be if there are days where you really feel like you cannot cope and you need to talk to somebody who is probably very removed or neutral to whatever daily dramas or stressors you're going through, then I would say, why not reach out to somebody neutral? And during this time, a lot of our mental health professionals have actually come together to provide support online. I know there are a lot of centers now that provide digital therapy. Fortunately for all of you, Eunoia also provides that services. So if you feel like after today's webinar, you do feel you need to talk to somebody in a professional manner, our email is in the description below. Our website is also there if you need further information. So do click around somewhere down there in the description box. And yeah, the most important thing is being able to find that support so that we can go through this together. Remember, we're not alone, we're together in this. So that kind of concludes
Yes.
my point for this topic. I wonder if, David, you have anything else you would like to add onto this?
Yeah, just maybe a concluding statement, like despite the storms out there that we cannot stop, we can always focus our attention and effort to the things that we can do and make our lives calmer and much look forward to. So we can choose to stay calm in the midst of storm. That's the one important message that we want to put forward to you today. Thank you for staying through with us, and we hope that this helps you. So
I think
thank you so much.
Thank you. So now I think maybe we can take a couple of questions. I believe we missed out a few on the top,
Sure.
right? So yeah, let's not ignore our viewers. Let's go to the Q&A section. Okay, so if you have new questions, feel free to continue to add to the chat, but we'll try and address the ones that were highlighted earlier, okay? So let's scroll up a little bit. Okay, so okay, a lot of sushi food here. Okay, so David, there is one question here that says, what can we do to help family members, especially elderly, to cope better with MCO? Thanks.
I think elderly at this moment, especially some of you might be worrying about medicine supplies. So especially if the elderlies are on medication, it may be especially difficult for them. So I believe that there might be some ways for you to get medication supplies ready for them. So maybe you need some postal service that hospital could provide. But regardless of that, I think something that we could do with elderlies is that a lot of times they get neglected at home. Like while we are on our devices, while we are doing a lot of things ourselves, having fun ourselves, maybe a lot of times they were just left there and they don't have devices to play with. They don't even know how to maybe play with any of the devices. What they truly enjoy is to have the true connection. Just recall, like when you go back hometown, what's the favorite thing that your grandpa grandma likes to do with you? They like to chat with you. They like to tell you their grandmother's stories, their grandfather's stories. So this is the time that you really spend some time listening to them, listening to their stresses, listening to the worries that they have. And you, as a son, as a grandson, as a daughter, as a granddaughter, grandchild, what you could do, you could also model this calmness to the elderly. Reassure them that, hey, despite the situations out there, despite the situation right now, there are actually a lot of positive news. There are increasing number of patients who recover from COVID-19. So give out all this reassurance message to them, and you yourself model the calmness to them. I suppose that could be really helpful. Xiuli, do you have any other ideas that you want to chip in?
I was just thinking, David, just now we were talking about fun times and, staying connected virtually. Perhaps we could even teach or help our grandparents or elderly parents set up a virtual mahjong session. So or it could be their own old folks gathering. They can have a karaoke session, so we can be the technical know-how and bridge that gap. So we just get them onto the virtual
Yeah.
space, and then after that you can just leave them for 2 hours, and I'm sure they'll be sharing gossip, they will be laughing, they will be scolding each other. But that's how the elderly are able to still feel like they're connected to their friends. And I think, it's not fair that only the youngsters can meet their friends, lah. Obviously, So why not we be that technical bridge and say, okay, come, grandma or mom, dad, come, let's do a Skype session. Okay, you guys decide what you want to do. What is the common activity? We just make sure you can go online and Skype your friends. And I think you will find that after a while, the elderly are not going to disturb you because they say, hey, yeah, I got my gossip session now at 3 o'clock. I got my mahjong at 5. Please don't disturb me. I'm not cooking dinner tonight. You know what I mean? I think even without MCO, that is something that sometimes our grannies and all would probably want to do. Just go out and have a good night together. So yeah, perhaps we can do that.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a message here addressed to me. It says, wondering how do we combat isolation and loneliness, especially for someone who's always active in their daily life? Okay, someone who always needs to move about, do grocery shopping, and basically this whole idea of, autonomy, being able to move around. So I would say, thanks, Queenie, for your question. I would think I myself am quite an active person before MCO. I used to have my weekly badminton sessions with my friends, and it's definitely a big void lah. In the last 2-3 weeks, I really miss our sessions together. But I guess what you could do if you want to keep an active lifestyle is you can be creative with the type of activities you do at home. Perhaps, if you're somebody who is used to exercise routine, you just need to sweat it out. Then perhaps another way is maybe join a virtual class online. If there's a virtual Zumba class, why not sign up for it and, you do Zumba with other people from around the world. Or, if you want to have some kind of challenge, you could join a community and do some kind of daily challenge. For those of you who live in 2-story houses, then maybe your challenge is every day you need to walk 100 steps. So you might want to walk up and down the stairs, or movement in general. So if you love to dance, why not just turn up some music, and let loose and just dance and just move around to de-stress. So I wonder if that could be some other creative alternatives you could try at home. And, if not, you can always drop us an email and I can kind of suggest other ways that you can have more movement at home. Okay? Any thoughts on that, David, before I conclude?
Yeah, I like the Zoom teh tarik session.
Yeah, I also
From the
want.
comments, the Zoom teh tarik. I'm also thinking we can do pretend play, like like children. We do pretend play as a child. So what we can do is maybe we could pretend that our house is a mini supermarket right now. So we could buy groceries. We could put grocery set up our whole house, and then we can go shopping at home.
Hey, that sounds like fun. This might be also a good time to declutter our cabinets and look out for all those expired food stuff, right? Oh, I see something from Cindy. She said that her mom turned 77 this month, and she's opened a Facebook account and found her old schoolmate in India, and now the laptop tak tutup. So it shows that actually, our elderly are becoming more tech savvy. So we just probably just have to
Yes,
give them a few
yes.
pointers, and then they can connect with whoever they want to around the world. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? You're welcome, Queenie, for that. Okay. uh, other questions? Okay, there's a lot of stuff here. Um. Okay.
I realized some questions were actually addressed by our participants as well. Thank you so much for addressing some of the questions for us.
I know. Yes. Thank you so much. It's good to have like a third facilitator around to, share some of their knowledge. It's a good sharing session,
Yes.
and it seems like people are also sharing ideas on how to entertain their kids, like camping at home. I love that idea. I mean, you could just play around with some of your bed sheets. If you don't have an actual tent to play with, you can make use of your bed sheets, or if you have old boxes, maybe you can make like paper boxes, buildings. So those kind of ideas, and it's really a time to get creative, I think. Yeah, okay. Okay, there's a question for you, David. So how
I
can
think I've
leaders...
answered
Oh,
this
sorry,
previously.
sorry. Okay.
Minimizing stress and maximizing trust. Yeah, the first question that we took just now.
Okay,
Any other
okay.
questions?
Okay, scrolling through now. Here's one. Is from Juan, I think. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm so sorry. So the person asks, how would one retain a work focus in a shifting environment of that, such as home compared to office? So I think it's like home is like always quite chaotic when you're trying to work. Whereas work, you gotta be quiet, you have a door and you can knock on the door and go in and all that. So how could you retain focus? What do you think, David?
So I guess while we are working at home, like we have mentioned previously, the routine is still very important. So on top of the routine right now, I guess we would need to communicate with our family members, because right now there is one space at home that needs to be your office. So we shall dedicate a space at home that is our office, and we could communicate with our spouse, our children, letting them, our family members, letting them know that, hey, this is my working space. So while you are entering this space, you need to knock. So like as usual, when you're in office, when you're entering my space, you need to knock. So it would be good to also change ourselves and get dressed in formal attire, so that it gives us boundaries. It gives us a boundaries that, hey, right now I'm going to work. So at the end of the work, change that into your casual clothes at home. Then that allows you to have a boundary that is very clear, that you don't overwork yourself. You don't extend your working hour to like 11 p.m. at night. But after I change back to my normal casual clothing, I'm off work, so turn off all the working emails, and also I'm not replying to all those things. So that is one practical tip that I could think of. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, David. In terms of, physical appearance or presentation, it really does send very strong messages non-verbally, because it also puts us into the different roles and mindsets. So like if I'm in a formal attire, so my mindset will be shifted to a more serious, focused kind of work attitude. And then once I'm in my t-shirt and slippers or whatever, I'm basically just off work. So I also would like to share that previously some of so because I'm a clinical psychologist, I see clients for sessions, and one of them did share that what really helped them is having a very fixed schedule. So means that like what you said, they have office hours at home. So during the office hours, they will be full on, and if they say they want to start work at 9, then at 9 sharp they will be at the desk and turning on the computer, reading emails and going through the work, and then start at soon as 6 o'clock starts, they just shut off everything. So I think having very strict working hours, and this is something we need to probably practice. I know at home we'll always be, it's just that one more email I need to reply. It's just that one more thing I need to check off my list. But understand that when we give ourselves excuses to go past the boundary, it becomes a habit. And then we just keep doing it. So today maybe 5 minutes delay, tomorrow will be 10. And next thing you know, by the end of the week, you are 1 hour later from what you had agreed with yourself in terms of ending work on time. So it's definitely very important, like David said, to have all these physical conditions as well as the mindset that, we are playing different roles even though we are physically at home. Yeah, so that's my input on that.
Yes, yes. Xiuli, I guess we could actually shift to our last slide
Mm-hmm.
on the QR code so that they
Oh,
could
yeah.
actually go
Oops,
on to our
sorry.
website.
Forgot about that. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks,
So
David.
highly appreciated, yeah, your feedback on this webinar. Do give us your honest feedback
Mm-hmm.
through the QR code over there. Hopefully this benefits all of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
And
I'm quite
maybe we could
mindful. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm quite mindful about time. There's about 2 minutes left to 4, and we just said that we want
Yeah.
to be more mindful about, start and end time, right? So that we can have work-life balance. So let's make
Yes.
a same promise to this. So
Yeah.
is there a last question you want to take, David, before we conclude today's session?
Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I saw this one question for working mom. So
Okay. All
working mom
right.
like need to take care of kids and at the same time need to work from home. It's quite hard to juggle. Yes, I would agree. I would agree to that. It's really hard to juggle, especially you are working mom, and right now maybe you can't send your child to any daycare center, so you have to take care of your child on your own. So maybe this is really the time to speak with all the resources that you can get. Your husband, your your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your other children, elder children. So maybe this is a time that you need to um tap onto the various resources that you have. We need to be aware that while we can't do everything on our own. While we are working outside there, we are focusing totally on work itself. So while we are working from home, we can't juggle two of that at the same time. We need to realize that there's a limit to us as well. So something moving from there, we could either speak to our employers or we could tap onto all these extra resources that we can get to help take care of our child so that it doesn't affect both our work and also family time in the end. We do not want both things to end up in some disaster or something that is not pleasant in the end. So we definitely need to tap on all those extra resources.
Yeah, so I guess just to conclude, understand that this is a time where there are a lot of changes that are happening to us. But what is important is that remember you're not alone and you can always rely on the people around you for help. And of course, if you need further support, like I mentioned, you can always look at our website in the description below. And if you have, and for those of you who we didn't manage to answer your questions here in the webinar itself, if you feel like you would still like a response from us, please do email us and we will answer your questions there. And yeah, for those of you who would like the slides for today's presentation, it would be great if you could leave your email addresses there so that we can email you the slides as well. Yeah. Okay, so David, it's 4:01. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess we shall cut off today's sessions and enjoy the
Mhm.
calmness in us as well. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So thank you once again for everybody who had tuned in today. We really are so appreciative of your support. It means a lot to us as it's our first webinar. So we hope to see you guys again, you guys and girls, in our upcoming webinars. So do leave your email addresses so we can update you on that. All right. Okay, thanks, David, for your time as well, for coming
Thank
on
you.
today.
Thank you, Xiuli.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.